We start with the latest hurricane to threaten Florida. It has just, in the last couple of hours, become a Category 5, packing 160-mile-an-hour winds. Thanks for joining us for 9 News at noon. I'm Tom Green. It is Milton that is now threatening Florida. People there gearing up for what authorities say could be the biggest evacuation they've had in years. It is now expected to make landfall on the west side of Florida on Wednesday night. As it stands right now, it's targeting the Tampa area. It could maintain hurricane strength as it moves all the way across central Florida as well. Of course, this is less than 2 weeks since Hurricane Helene caused catastrophic damage in that state before climbing up to inland to North Carolina, where it did so much damage as well. Coloradans have been responding in the aftermath of Helene, and they include a group that helped to find a woman in North Carolina who had been missing for weeks. Colorado Task Force 1 says the woman was sheltering in what was left of her house in an isolated part of an area just east of Asheville. The task force says their canines kept showing interest in the area around her home, but they couldn't find her. Then the crew called in local law enforcement. They did manage to locate the woman based on the indications from those canines. So weather is a big story. It's also a big story here. Temperatures continuing to climb here in October. We're expecting to get back up into the 80s by later this afternoon. Keely Chalmers is with us now with the Weather Impact team. Our weather, very different than what they're seeing down there, Keely.
Very quiet. We're going to stay quiet. We're going to stay warm. We're going to stay dry, not just through the day today, but through the week. We're actually not going to get a taste of fall until next Sunday. What we will be seeing, a little bit of a difference in our weather pattern this afternoon, will be increased wildfire smoke from fires burning to the north of us. A little bit of haze out there this morning. That will increase. It'll thicken up as we head into the evening hours. Current temperatures, we're already in the 80s in Lyman, Greeley. We're at 76 out at DIA, 50s, 60s up in the mountains. So lots of sunshine, no precipitation. We'll reach our high right around 82 degrees between about 3 and 4 o'clock this afternoon. So expect mostly sunny skies. Again, those areas of wildfire smoke increasing as we head into the afternoon, into the evening, overnight, into tomorrow morning. Forecast highs. We're looking mainly 80s across the plains today. So a look at your weather impact headlines for today. Again, we're staying dry through the week. Temperatures above 80 degrees, so about 10 to 15 degrees actually warmer than normal. We're dealing with those areas of wildfire smoke today into tomorrow morning. And again, let's talk about that cool down, feeling a bit more fall as we head into the Sunday. We'll talk more about that coming up in your complete forecast in just a bit.
Thanks, Keely. Back to the news. And new today, a federal law that requires hospitals to provide emergency abortion care cannot be enforced in Texas. The state initially sued to block the law known as the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act. It says that federally funded hospitals must perform emergency abortions even in states that ban the procedure. A lower court sided with the state, blocking enforcement. And today, the Supreme Court allowed the lower court decision to stay in place, saying hospitals cannot be required to provide pregnancy terminations that would violate Texas law. And just in the last half hour, Georgia's Supreme Court has stopped a ruling, one that struck down the state's near ban on abortions. It was last week that a judge found the state was unconstitutionally prohibiting abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy. Of course, that's before most women realize they're pregnant. Today's Supreme Court ruling suspended that decision while it considers an appeal. Here in Colorado, the Summit County Sheriff's Office is investigating after finding a decomposed body near a hiking trail. The Sheriff's Office says it was a hiker that reported seeing the body near Officers Gulch over the weekend. That's near I-70 between Frisco and Copper Mountain. Officials at this point say no risk to the public safety. They've recovered the body. It's now with the Summit County Coroner's Office. But if you know anything about the case, you're asked to call the Summit County Sheriff's Office. Mesa County, the Sheriff's Office there has had to increase security at the county's Justice Center because the courthouse staff has been receiving multiple threats. This following the sentence of former County Clerk Tina Peters. Peters sentenced to 9 years in prison last week for her role in an election data leak. In handing down the sentence last week, the district judge told Peters that she was a charlatan who showed no remorse for her actions. Then on Friday, county commissioners testified that Peters' lies and conspiracy theories cost Mesa County $1.4 million. Of course, her punishment marked one of the strictest sentences we've seen so far for any of the election tampering cases. In Denver, tonight, more parents and community members get the chance to meet with Denver Public Schools officials to talk about potential closures and consolidations. This will be the third round of discussions surrounding the district's decision-making process. They still haven't said which schools might close, but the district does say it will look at areas with clusters of schools. Once their recommendations come out, DPS says there will be more community meetings before a final decision is made. Tonight's meeting is scheduled for 6 p.m. That's at CEC Early College near 26th and Federal. The candidates in what looks to be Colorado's closest congressional race are going to take the debate stage here at 9 News tomorrow. Democratic Congresswoman Yadira Caraveo and Republican challenger Gabe Evans facing off at 6 p.m. tomorrow night. This will be the only live debate in this race. You can watch the 30-minute face-off live on 9 News, of course, but also streaming on 9 News Plus. And here in Colorado, it is almost time to start voting. Clerks across the state start mailing ballots to registered voters this Friday. Then you'll have 2 weeks to return them by mail. But should you miss the October 28th deadline, you can still drop your ballot in a drop box or vote in person. All ballots are due by 7 p.m. on Election Day, November 5th. There are many memorials around the world, as it's now been 1 year since Hamas launched that surprise terror attack at a music festival in Israel. That was the massacre that killed thousands and sparked a devastating war in Gaza that still continues now 12 months later. It's also spiraled into other parts of the Middle East. Here with more on that is NBC's Richard Engel.
This morning, Israelis commemorated the moment a year ago when several thousand Hamas gunmen broke out of Gaza and went on a killing and kidnapping rampage across southern Israel. Israel was blindsided and struggled to respond to the Hamas attacks in more than 30 locations. It took hours to send reinforcements and days to repel the assault. It was Israel's 9/11. Now Israel is at war, reducing Gaza to rubble, with more than 41,000 killed, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. Israel this weekend launched a new offensive in northern Gaza, claiming Hamas has regrouped. And in Lebanon, an air and ground war is intensifying against Hezbollah. But the group is still able to launch rockets, overnight hitting the Israeli city of Haifa. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke to Israeli troops on the Lebanese border. A year ago, we suffered a terrible blow. In the past 12 months, we are changing the reality from end to end, he said. Netanyahu has never accepted responsibility for the October 7th intelligence and security failings and says an inquiry will come after the war. Danny Yotam is a former director of the Mossad.
How much responsibility do you think Prime Minister Netanyahu bears?
He is responsible because he got some early warning, even though it was not the exact date, the exact location, but it was an early warning. And he did not pay attention to it the way the Prime Minister should pay attention to it.
And this morning, Hamas said it fired rockets toward Tel Aviv. There are no reports of casualties.